Vasishta said to Ram, "O Ram, you have heard all that is worth hearing, and you know all that is worth knowing. What I have said to you and what you have studied in the scripture now bring into harmony with your own direct experience." And this is where the work begins. The work begins with spiritual realization. There seems to be a general myth that spiritual realization brings an end to all problems, that it brings an end to all suffering. What it does is it brings an end to the cause of all suffering. But there's still going to be a lot of challenges. There's still going to be a lot of pain, perhaps even more pain than before. The momentum of all our past tendencies is still there, but with spiritual understanding we start to see how that momentum has been fueled, and we no longer fuel it. This is like karma and the consequences of karma. We've still got the consequences of our karma, but we're not going to get caught up in fueling them, producing more karma, which will in the future produce more consequences. So there is this transition then between realization and getting on with our everyday life. Because this is the end result as far as the teaching of the Yoga Vasishta is concerned. After realization, you then get on with living. So spirituality is not about withdrawing from the business of living. Some people think spirituality, or have the understanding that spirituality is about moving on to some heavenly realm, some divine place that you start operating from. Nirvana is not the same as heaven. Nirvana has nothing to do with heaven. Nirvana is the realization of consciousness. The possibility of unlimited enhancement to the tone of your being is there, but there's an awful lot to deal with. The challenge of living comes into full focus, and one no longer feels that one needs to shirk from it. Many people get involved in spirituality because life is painful. They're sensitive to that, perhaps unbearably sensitive to it. They might have experienced tremendous suffering, or perhaps they're just very curious and they've not been satisfied with the answers that they've been fed. So they want understanding. But at some point, life needs to be embraced once again in its totality. Enlightenment is not the image of the Buddha under the bodhi tree, sitting in bliss. The real picture is what the Buddha did for the next 50 years. He worked ceaselessly in spreading his understanding. That's what he had to do. That was his course of action. The course of action he contemplated after his enlightenment was just to continue his present lifestyle, which was that of a wandering ascetic. That was his inclination. But he saw that it was worth spreading his understanding, even if only a few would understand it. And now that Rama has realized the fruition of his spiritual understanding, he has to get on with those things which were undesirable, namely fighting a couple of demons on behalf of Vishvamitra. He wasn't particularly interested in doing so, and his father was certainly against it. But now this is the appropriate course of action. He's the great Ram, the warrior prince. He's going to be fighting many battles in the future, and this is his destiny which he now embraces. So we embrace our destiny, we embrace ordinary life. and we look at our resistance to that. This is now our working edge. The working edge of spiritual practice is embracing our response to everyday life, which we might have run from at one point, which we might have withdrawn from at one point. It's said that the enlightened person, when confronted with two doors marked heaven and hell, is indifferent to which door they go through. It's a hard one to accept, isn't it? Surely we'll take the door marked heaven. But if your realization is such, if it is truly touched the dispassion of Nirvana, if the dispassion of Nirvana is what is truly fueling your being, your spiritual realization, then it makes no difference. And if you're attached to heaven, observe that. Observe the truth that perhaps you're not as dispassionate as you thought you were. Inquire into it. Is it heaven that you want? Or is it Nirvana? If it's heaven that you want, then what you want is the romance of spirituality. You want to sit in meditation and practice certain techniques and get into some very nice states. You can do altruistic actions and feel a certain degree of harmony and peace with yourself. That's what you can work on. That's what you can pursue. You can read the holy books and derive comfort from them, so you can have a spiritual life. But that is not spirituality. That's lifestyle. That's finding a nice lifestyle for yourself, one that you're comfortable with. And there's nothing wrong with that, if that's what you want to do. But don't confuse it with spiritual understanding. Spiritual understanding is dispassion. It does not differentiate. It does not discriminate between here, there, you, me, real, imaginary, heaven and hell. So this is our working edge, our cutting edge. What are we really looking for here? Can you be truly equanimous?